Hey, what's up, VC? It's Steve again, Harmless Rebel. Time for another hard rock and heavy metal update. Just kind of jump into it. This is a mix of... None of this stuff is brand new. Most of this stuff I've had for quite some time. A lot of it for years, just stuff I pulled out to spin. But this is one I ordered 6 or 7 months ago. And I've been a fan of this band since our first album came out. With their third album, just kind of took me over the top. They are one of my favorite bands, although I don't talk about them that much. I've seen them a bunch of times. They're amazing live. But this is Deftones. I believe this was a Record Store Day release a few years ago. So one thing that they do better than a lot of bands is their covers. Deftones does amazing covers. The first cover I heard from them was Duran Duran. It was Drive, which is on here. And, or was it, no, The Chauffeur. Was it The Chauffeur? I believe it was The Chauffeur. And it was on the Duran Duran, there was a Duran Duran tribute album, and it blew me away. And, over the years, you know, I've heard them do covers. They finally started releasing albums with the covers, and that's what this one is, Deftones Covers. Just a killer album. Like I said, I love all of their covers. Unfortunately, when whoever shipped this to me, they didn't put anything between this and the box. So I don't know if you guys can really see it. Probably not. There's a line across it where I cut into the box that this was packaged in, and I ended up cutting into the cover. No kind of, I don't remember who I bought this from. But there was no kind of protection. It may have been in an envelope or something crazy. I don't remember. But still, killer album. They're one of the best bands, other than maybe Metallica, when it comes to covers. Next up, this is one I was really excited for. I'm really glad they switched covers on this, because the original cover was horrible. I think this was the third or fourth release from the band. Finally got a vinyl print. And they're going... Soundmass is going through and doing all of their albums. They've all come out fantastic. They all sound great, including this. This is Live Planetarium from Mortification. I love the artwork there. The original artwork, it's funny. A lot of people were mad that they switched to this album cover, which cracks me up because the original artwork was horrible. It really, and I'm somebody that I love the early 80s, especially the thrash album covers and new wave of British heavy metal album covers, the hand drawn that look like they were done by a 5-year-old. I like that stuff, and even liking that stuff, I cannot stand the original album cover. So very cool that they redid that. Next up, this album kind of surprised me. I've been hit or miss with Alice Cooper's albums since the mid 90s. Hey Stupid was probably the last one where I really liked the entire album. Now, through all of his albums since then, there's been songs I liked. This one finally got pressed to vinyl. It got pressed last year, maybe, on Record Store Day, and they sold out real quick, and they're selling for crazy money. It finally got a wide release, so I pre-ordered it right away. But this is Dirty Diamonds. From Alice Cooper. I really, really like this album. And it's kind of a mix. There's some hard rock here. There's some metal. The Saga of Jesse James has a hard rock, southern rock feel to it. The A-side especially. Zombie Dance I could do without. And Stand with Exhibit. But other than that, I really dig this album. But the A-side is phenomenal. Dirty Diamonds is a great song. The Saga of Jesse James. Just really killer album. If you're an Alice Cooper fan, this is definitely one to check out if you haven't already. I showed this a long time ago, pulled it out to give it another spin. When was this? 74 maybe? I know it says it on here. Yeah, so this is off the 74 tour. This is really kind of where you see April Wine becoming a hard rock band. Their early stuff had a more prog feel to it. Still a little heavy, but more of a heavy prog. On this live album, you really start to hear that really good 70s hard rock album that they would have throughout the rest of the 70s. I was really happy to find this. This is one I found I think I was digging with Billy the first time he came through town, maybe 2 years ago. Love this album, though. Speaking of 70s hard rock, this is one of the best. I absolutely love this album. This is every time I see a nicer copy, I grab it. This is a favorite of mine. Probably my top 5 guitarists of all time. Absolutely love this guy. This is Tommy Bolin Teaser. Like I said, I've already got copies of this, but this one was just a lot nicer. Really near mint. The vinyl's near mint, and the jacket's a really nice VG plus. So really nice upgrade. My other copy, my main copy that I have, I've played the hell out of, and it was well played when I got it. It's funny though. I had this album for years without realizing that that's him on. I thought that was a chick on the cover for the longest time. It's so funny. I mean, the big one on here that most people would know is Teaser, but there's not a bad song on here. And it's funny, I'm a big Motley Crue fan, and so I had known the song Teaser since I was a kid. And it was probably the mid to late 90s before I found out that was a cover song. So that's not the first time that's happened. Actually, it just happened Cloudy Milder. I never knew Antisocial was a cover song for Anthrax, and I told him that, and he thought I was joking. It's funny because it's one of my favorite Anthrax songs, and I've talked about that before. When my band was warming up, the last band that I played in, when we did our warm-up, we warmed up with Antisocial, and then we warmed up with Surf Nicaragua before we did our songs. And I've been listening to that song nonstop since it came out. It's one of my favorites from the band. I had no idea it was a cover song. So, there you go. Next up, some more Sodom. If you've watched my last, half dozen videos, I've shown at least one Sodom album, and there's probably going to be more in my upcoming videos. I've just been on a really big Sodom kick. I didn't really get into the band. I got Persecution Mania on cassette in the early to mid 90s. And I don't know, I just wasn't feeling it back then. It was maybe 5 or 6 years ago when I really got into Sodom. I don't know what it was about them. I just wasn't a big fan of that album. Now I love that album. It's not my favorite. I think it's a great album, but as I've gotten deeper into them over the last few years, I just can't get enough of it. This is Decision Day. This was their last release. When was this? 2016. I believe I read that they have something coming out either this year or next year. They just did an EP, but I really look forward to hearing what's next from Sodom. Another one that I definitely recommend. They don't have an album I don't recommend picking up, at least the albums that I have and that I've heard. Next up, this is such a criminally underrated new wave of British heavy metal album. This band's first album is just considered a masterpiece, and I like the first album. I love this album, and when you look at the reviews online, it gets horrible reviews. The band went to. I read recently that they had toured on the tour for their first band for their first album. They toured with Def Leppard all throughout. I think it was 80 or 81. What year was this one? This was 82, I think. 80 or 81. They toured for the entire year. And a lot of people think that touring with Def Leppard made them reevaluate their sound. And they went with a more melodic sound, which I really like. The singer I've always loved. Unfortunately, this was the last album with him. I didn't like the singer that replaced him afterwards as much. I do like the third album as well. But just, this is a classic album, one I highly recommend checking out, especially the A-side. There's only one song on this entire album that I don't really like, and it's the first song on the B-side. And even it's a pretty good album, or a pretty good song. But the A-side on this is one of the best new wave of British heavy metal sides of an album there is, I think. And it's Stage Fright for Witch Find. Absolutely love this album. If you haven't checked this out, if you haven't checked this band out, especially their first two albums, I highly recommend checking them out. The A side of this, though, is absolutely phenomenal. Next up, another, this is just a criminally underrated band completely. I've never understood why people aren't bigger fans of this band. Both of their albums are phenomenal. Just top-notch speed metal. Bordering on thrash. Some people would probably call it thrash. It's Zoetrope Amnesty. Man, this thing is a shredder. Just amazing guitar work. Highly recommend checking this one out if you haven't checked these guys out. And you can get these out. Both of their albums you can get for $20-25 in really nice condition. So if you're into speed metal, into thrash, and you haven't heard these guys, you really are missing out. Next up, it's funny. I was just talking to Scott Waters about this album. We were talking on the phone. I don't remember what we were talking about. This album came up, though, and it's Symphonic Extremities from Ultimatum. He's not a fan of this album. Obviously it's his band. He wasn't a fan of the production on it. He wasn't real happy with it. It's been remastered by Rob Caldwell, who does a great job. It's still pretty raw. I actually really like it. This is I believe this was their first album, if I remember correctly. It may not be. I think it was their first full length. Regardless, Scott's vocals, he gets compared to Zetro a lot. And there's a good reason for that. He definitely does have a similar voice to Zetro, which kind of makes sense. They're from the same area, On this album, though, it's not quite Zetro. There's a couple songs on here where it reminds me a lot of early Chuck Billy, a lot of early Testament. And the sound of the band, I feel like they were listening to a lot of Testament when this came out. I could be wrong. I hear a lot of Testament in here, though. Whereas in later albums, they definitely had their own sound. I say that he sounded like Zetro, his voice did, but the band didn't. They definitely had their own sound. On this album, though, you can hear, what's the word I'm looking for? You can hear the influences. They're definitely wearing it on their sleeves on this album. But I love this album. It's probably my third favorite from the band. I'm really glad it's on vinyl. It does sound really good. It sounds much better. I've got an early pressing of the CD, and this sounds much better than the mastering on the early CD. So, highly recommend checking that out. If they're still available, this is one of the green vinyl ones. I think the green vinyl sold out. I think there were only like 50 of them. I could be wrong, but I know that there's still some black vinyl available on Rox Records, so definitely grab that. Actually, speaking of Zetro and Overkill, finally gave this a spin. I bought this on Record Store Day. I think it was the last Record Store Day. If you didn't grab it, go online and grab it now. You can get it for like $15, $16. It was kind of bullshit marketing when they released this, which I talked about when I first showed this. They advertised this as being available on vinyl for the first time, which was totally bogus. It was available when it came out. Let me see. This was done by E1. I don't remember who originally released it, but it was a European pressing when it first came out. But it was released here in the U.S. That European pressing. It was one of the labels like Retroactive or one of those that, although they press all their stuff in Europe, it sells here too. So, it wasn't the first time on vinyl. It's been pressed on vinyl. I think there were 2 or 3 pressings in Europe. So, but they build it that way, charge $40 for it. I think I got a good deal, and I think I paid $29. But like I said, now you can get them sealed for $15. It's a great album. The live tracks on here are pretty good too. They do Horoscope, Long Time Dying, Necro Shine, and Walk Through Fire, all huge songs for the band. And just a really solid album. I'm really glad to have it on vinyl. And the green vinyl does look cool. but it's just one of those record store day flops, really. Like I said, I think they did a few thousand. It said it on the sticker. I don't remember how many. They did like 1,500 or 2,500 pressings. But like I said, original copies aren't that expensive. So, like I said, $15. And then last but not least, it's funny. Scott and I were just talking about this band today, actually. But this is Gravedigger. This is their... They have a brand new album that came out this year. This is the last album before this year's. I believe this was 2018, yeah. This is a great album. I love Gravedigger. I don't think they get enough respect for as good as they are. Another very underrated band. If you like power metal, I mean, these guys have been putting out killer power metal since the 80s. Solid album, though. The Living Dead. The only song... Man, is that the same Zombie Dance as Alice Cooper? I don't know. Zombie Dance is the only song on here I could live without. The rest of this album is absolutely phenomenal. The A-side is phenomenal. I like Glory or Grave, the bonus track on here. I love the artwork, too. I don't think I have it behind me anymore. I actually have a signed copy of this on CD as well. But the vinyl popped up for like $15 on Amazon, so I grabbed it. I only have a few. I only have like 2 or 3 of the Gravedigger albums on vinyl. But I have almost all of them on CD. So that's it, guys. I hope everybody's doing good. Take care. Stay safe. Subscribe. And I'll see you soon.